Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. I'm Jonathan Fisher. With so many rapid advancements in the field of artificial intelligence, business development professionals are asking, what are the implications for existing sales forces? How can I integrate this powerful technology to get an edge against your competitors? Well, our guests today, Anton Dobrzhanskiy and Miro Putkonen, are two of the founders of Epicbrief, a technology startup out of Finland, which is aimed at making human work more meaningful and valuable. As players on the very front lines of this issue, Anton and Miro have the perfect vantage point from which to help us grapple with these questions in a meaningful way. Miro and Anton, what a pleasure to have you on the show. Welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Jonathan.
So before we jump into our topic, which obviously is of great interest, I'm curious, how did you guys get into the field and gain some of the expertise you're going to be sharing with the listener today?
Yeah, so both Anton and I have been working in sales for the last 10 years as AEs and as sales leaders. About a year ago, me and Anton were basically, we had left our job at a startup, and we were thinking back at our time as AEs and about some of the challenges that we had. And we realized that one of the challenges was literally just, sharing what we were learning from customer-facing conversations. And we met our co-founder, who was a PhD in machine learning, and he had just heard about these large language models that everyone was talking about, and then we basically came up with an MVP to solve one of the problems that we were having personally. And yeah, that started an interesting journey. We were pretty early adopters to large language models. Back then, no one was talking about them. Now everyone's talking about them. But yeah, it's been an interesting journey until now. So,
well, and it feels like it's this overnight change that's been many years in the making, though, right? I mean, people have been talking about artificial intelligence for literally decades, but it does seem like the curve is suddenly steepened. Would you agree? How do you account for that?
I mean, like, this goes into a deeper conversation. It's yeah, I mean, I think the reason, at least for us as salespeople, why this has been really interesting is, and I don't know if it's a combination of what's happened with COVID, where we have salespeople who've been like cooped up in their own, extroverts who've been in the building, in their rooms for like 2 years. And there's this technological shift. But what's really interesting when we go out and talk to salespeople is that many of them just feel drained. And what's really interesting about that is, if you think about like salespeople who are extroverted, but they're feeling really drained, like there's this interesting mix between like a technological advancement and then salespeople who are sort of tired of the way sales is being run. And so, yeah, it's really interesting. And there was a recent study from Salesforce that found like 72% of salespeople spend their time on non-selling activities, right? So if you imagine, like, if you're spending $100,000 on a salesperson, 72,000 of those dollars are not being spent on sales. And so for both the leader and for the salesperson themselves, they're spending their time not doing the thing that they love, which is being with customers. And so, yeah, it's AI. We'll get into it, like how AI can help salespeople and some of the risks maybe that are associated with this. But yeah, we think this is all coming together at a very interesting time for sales as a profession.
Well, I think you gave us a little indication of what your answer is likely to be, but I'll still ask the question. Is there a threat to some people's jobs represented by these advances in artificial intelligence? And if so, what are the parameters of that threat? What could that look like?
Yeah, I think this is a very good question, Jonathan. We've been thinking a lot with Miro and Puru about what's going to happen in sales with advances in AI, and are humans obsolete in sales? I think the intellectually honest answer to this question is that we don't know. I don't think that anybody can claim that they do know. We can play different scenarios. Think about will humans become obsolete in sales? There are some things which need to be true or to happen, like advancements in AI, like, there needs to be a little bit more developed. Some scientists said there's already like AGI, like artificial general intelligence inside. It also needs to develop like empathy and emotional intelligence. But what we and you can be really confident about is that non-value adding sales is going to go away. Like if you think about in today's sales and today's buyer's journey and customer journey, only 10% of the whole customer journey is where sales people or sales teams actually come in. They're not there for 90% of the whole journey. And it's a quite tight window for you to add value. And if you're not adding value inside of that tight window, then the buyer doesn't want you there. It's not just it's not all about AI. It's just the buyer's expectations, and we can already see in the past 5-10 years the rise of technology or go-to-market motions like product-led growth, right? When people don't actually talk to salespeople to make a purchase. I think this is sort of like to answer your question is that to recap is like we don't know, but non-value adding sales is definitely going to go away.
Well, I think it seems fair. It sounds like what you're saying is the more transactional the sale, the less humans are in fact needed as this technology matures. And frankly, the humans doing the buying don't really like it any other way. So that's where it's going to go. But there is that open door that you've left for human beings where a lot more creativity or a lot greater complexity in terms of the buyer's journey pertains. So tell us more about that. Like, so that sounds like there's both promise and peril, right? The peril is, yes, some selling functions that are currently conducted by people, they're no longer going to be conducted by people. However, the ones that remain, is there an opportunity here, or is it just ever this never-ending rivalry that, until it gets more and more capable? What are your, again, you said you don't know, but what are your thoughts on that in the immediate term?
Yeah, I think the opportunity is to make the human work in sales more meaningful and valuable. Right, like when you think about that Salesforce study, that 72% of the time is being spent on non-selling activities. So that kind of work should and could be automated, right? And I think that gives an opportunity for the human in the mix to spend time doing what they love, obviously making money, but also being with customers and helping customers and problem solve, as opposed to like being told by their manager to fill in the pipeline, things like that. And so I think also, like, when we've talked to salespeople, like we just hear like when you speak to a salesperson one-to-one and they tell you like we've had a bunch of sales reps reach out to us that they've been feeling quite drained and burnt out. I don't know if it's like a combination, like I was saying about like COVID, or is it just they have so many technological tools or whatever. But like we've heard stories. We spoke to, for example, this mom salesperson who she at night when she was with her baby, she was like watching like recordings and then trying to take notes. And so I think like salespeople are just overwhelmed by things and they feel pretty drained. And so I think AI can literally make the human work like just more meaningful, like even if it's not spending time more time selling, but also doing what they want to, like doing the things that they love to do, if it's like going on a nice vacation or like spending time with their friends. But I think this salespeople just typically have quite a bit of stress and often paranoia, like that, you don't want to make mistakes, and right, so like it can be pretty exhausting. And so I think the AI, what it can do is it can take away some of those things that don't help the salesperson just do the human stuff that they really love to do and that they're really good at. And I think that's where the AI can really actually add value, and like the combination of the AI and the human.
Yeah, I would add to that, like we talk, or what we deeply care about is salespeople, but then you also think about sales leaders. I think what's interesting in this kind of environment we live in is that there's a huge advance in AI, which can automate a lot of tasks and augment salespeople. But at the same time, we're in this a little bit shaky economic. We're kind of in recession. Like there's not a very good economic environment, and you can see people companies laying off people and cutting costs, etc. So what it means for sales leaders today, it's pretty much it can be summed up in a really small sentence, like do more with less. It's an impossible task for a sales leader, whether you're a chief revenue officer or VP of sales. What are their jobs? They increase revenue, shorten sales cycles, and increase conversion, right? Those are the three things sales leaders need to care about. What they've done for 15 years, for the past 15 years, to solve those challenges is pretty much hire more people, hire consultants to train those people, to train the workforce, and then to increase conversion, it's a combination of the quality of the sales force, so your sales force, and product, right? You don't have those levers anymore. You don't have budget, you don't have people, and you haven't been impacting the product as much as you wanted to, because it's quite a exhausting conversation most of the time. So as sales, we really resonate with sales leaders' jobs as well. It's an impossible task, and I think AI has a potential to help there as well.
Well, I like what you guys have said, because it's tackling from both sides some of the positive potential that this technology represents for the sales producer. Getting back to the stat Miro mentioned earlier of 72% of the salesperson's activity is non-revenue producing. That's not just hair pulling for the management. It's hair pulling for the producer, because he or she is not having fun managing CRM, updating notes, tracking pipeline, getting data, all that stuff. So there's a lot of opportunity, I think, to make the life easier for the sales producer. I love that you guys are focused on that. And then, what levers can you pull to make change? It sounds like there's a lot more that could be done here. So let's dive into that. Let's kind of get down to some of the concrete ways in which this technology can do these things, make the manager and the producer's jobs that much better.
Yeah, so there's basically like five areas that we think about, and it kind of goes up in terms of like complexity for both the human and mainly for the AI, where we think, like, if you ask the question like where AI could make the human obsolete, like there's sort of like 5 areas that we're interested in. The first is like automation. Like, can the AI automate things? Clearly it can. The other areas are analyzing customer needs, which basically means that you can analyze the customer need and tailor the solution. So humans can do that, but AI, I think, can do that. And I can share a few examples of how we've been playing around with the AI to do that. The other areas, these are the areas where humans really are like unique, but like it's surprising how good the AI seems to be at these kinds of areas, which is like problem solving the unique issues of the customers. A fourth area that seemed, at least for many of us, like, oh, AI can't touch that, which is like strategic thinking. And the fifth area, which is clearly the area where I think we all have a bit of doubt around where if AI can actually impact that, and it's the trust, the empathy, it's the human relationship. Like, will buyers ever really trust buying from an AI? I mean, it's an interesting thing to think about, like whether it's possible that humans might trust an AI to buy from an AI. I mean, there's an interesting question of like, if the AI is able to promise a bigger impact, better results, then it's kind of a question. Maybe some people start saying like, well, sure, I really like the good feeling I get being with another human, but like, the AI promises better results. It's better for the bottom line, right? So, I mean, it's an interesting question. Like to really honestly look at it. Like at least many of the people watching this, like, I probably played with ChatGPT, and when you think about those areas like problem solving or strategic thinking, it's quite surprising how good the AI is at some of those types of aspects. And so, yeah, definitely the empathy and the trust and the relationship building is stuff that like AI, let's say, is going to have a hard time. But I think we need to also be intellectually honest when we play with ChatGPT, that like you're like, okay, like this is pretty good. But yeah.
Well, yeah, and I think that whole issue of trusting and empathy, a lot of that is how cleverly can the code be written, right? Because we already know humans can anthropomorphize anything. I mean, from the time we're kids and get attached to a teddy bear, right? We're already kind of forming an attachment to something that doesn't actually reciprocate in exactly the way we need. So tying into that could be very powerful, maybe in a scary way, but in terms of what we could do today with today's capabilities, how can we maybe give us 2 or 3 additional ways that this could make the life of managers or producers easier, guys?
Yeah, I could give you a couple examples if you talk about AI as a way to automate tasks, nowadays there's a lot of tools, AI tools out there. I think one of the most popular ones is the ones which write emails for salespeople, like a cold outreach emails, and those are interesting. It's pretty much like it's a gold rush. The ones who gets it first, writes the perfect email, gets the lead or gets the engagement from the buyer, right? So that's one of them. That's one of the automation tools. Automate emails, email campaigns, writing of emails, writing content. A lot of salespeople are on LinkedIn, and I think second example is for you to try would be working with ChatGPT or GTP4. It's the one we discovered ourselves, is how to prepare for a meeting with executive buyer or with your prospect. Let's say it's a discovery meeting or initial qualifying meeting. It's really simple, and try it. You can. So basically, what you do is you just copy the LinkedIn profile of the person you're meeting. Just literally copy the whole page, paste it into the ChatGPT, then paste what your product does, and basically ask it, help me to prepare for a discovery meeting with this person. And you will be amazed. We literally tried that with some of the largest companies in the world, executive from largest companies in the world, and we followed the script just to test. It was amazing. We just hit those points, hit the discovery questions. It was pretty cool. The third one, which Miro discovered, is more towards strategic thinking. Things like, if you ever heard of value framework, the value framework is basically a way for you to conduct like a string between corporate objectives, business strategy, initiatives, critical capabilities, and your solution set. So what you can do is you can put what your product does. You can put the company and the profile of the buyer into the ChatGPT, just paste it there, and ask it, can you create a matrix for me of value framework and identify this corporate objectives, strategy, initiatives, capabilities, solution set. And it just gives you an amazing table which just strings everything, and you can say, this is my feature, this is how it relates to critical capabilities you need as a buyer in your team, in your project. This is how it attaches to your initiatives. This is what's the strategy. This is how it goes to the strategy, and this is your corporate objective: increase revenue, reduce cost or reduce risk. That's pretty valuable. And then the third one, you can just ask it, can you generate me 3 slides on that, and then put the text and slides and set it to executive.
Wow. It's kind of amazing to think about. You're making me, I think I know what my playtime is going to be spent on over the weekend. You talk a lot about speed to lead in terms of the very front end of sales funnels and going from marketing to sales conversations. That's really critical there. But now we're talking about speed to presentation, even for fairly complex enterprise level sales activities. That's very powerful. Are there, so we obviously know some of the most famous examples of AI. Are there opportunities for companies to be more tailored in their approach? What do you recommend on that front?
Like when you say tailoring, are you do you mean like tailoring their pitch to the customer, or what
Yeah,
specific?
their pitch, and there may be maybe some very specialized, like, your addressable market may be very highly technically adept, like say engineers. Perhaps it could be whatever, aerospace or the sciences or somewhere where something is very specialized. I doubt that these tools are going to have everything they need for some of that. Are there ways companies are there APIs can be developed, or what are some of the technology solutions that you're aware of on that front?
Well, if you look at some of the latest like tests that they've put on ChatGPT, like GTP4, like it's able to, I think, like across a bunch of different subject matters, it's able to pass like with honors, pass the exams. So like
Wow.
like it's surprisingly good. And one of the things that like what I've experienced meeting with like executives of publicly listed companies is they come to us and they're like, oh, we really want to try this like technology like ChatGPT. Obviously they have sometimes like security constraints, like because like ChatGPT, for example, says like we're going to use this, something like we're going to use this for our internal learning of how this tool works and so forth. And there obviously there's some security concerns, and there's like the need for more commercial vendors out there to help corporates. But like one of the questions that I like to ask them is like, what are you scared to ask it? Like this scenario, you're like, oh, what about like the aerospace, like very complex things? And I think there's like a human instinct to go like, but it can't do this, like it's not able to do this. But what I've experienced is when I ask that question, like what are you scared to ask it? And then I say to the person, well, ask that. Because that's where at least my journey using this technology started, is where I just was like, well, I'm just gonna try. I'm gonna try the things that are almost a bit scary, like the things I think are like a human can do this, but the AI can't. But every time I take that leap of faith with the tool, I'm surprised, like, well, it actually can do that. And that's when you start actually building trust with the AI, because you learn how to talk to it to use it. And that's my encouragement to people, is just to try, like go on ChatGPT and just try, like what comes to your brain. And it's surprising. Just talk to it like it sounds really weird, but talk to it like a human, and then you'll sort of learn how to talk to it and get the results out, and not giving up immediately. A lot of people we talk to, like they say like, well, like I tried, it didn't really work out. But sometimes you just need to learn how to ask it the question a little bit differently, just with with a human, if you want that right answer. So you got to try different things, and you'll be pretty surprised. So
Push the boundaries a little bit. I like it. Well, I'll test its knowledge of hypergolic thrusters for rocket travel or something. I don't know. But the train you're on is one I want to continue moving on in a moment. But first, a quick reminder to the live audience. We've already got some questions coming in. That's fantastic. Keep them coming. In just a few minutes, we're going to have your questions put in front of our guest to get you a live answer. So go ahead and post those in the chat, and we'll circle around for some Q&A here just shortly. So yeah, I want to follow that train a little further in terms of what are some concrete steps that the listener can take to integrate this into their actual workflow, whether that be an actual, like a business development C-level leader, whether that's a manager, whether that's an actual producer. Maybe you can speak on all three of those levels just briefly here.
Yeah, sure. I think one of the things to separate is ChatGPT and other tools. I think what people need to be comfortable with first is what Miro was saying. At least what we'd see, working with executives or managers or users, is just try to play with ChatGPT separate from the tooling first. And second is try to find vendors who actually integrate into your workflow. I think one of the very interesting challenges for vendors out there using AI is your ability to actually know what is that persona's workflow. But because based on our research, developing a generic AI tool is not going to work, because people want it to help right there, right when they need it, not when. A good example would be, you know, a solution for an engineer, let's say a tool which helps you with your meetings. For engineer is very different than for the salesperson or for the doctor, or like they just do a slightly different job, the same context, but the jobs are different inside and they need different help at different points. So if you are looking for solutions, so let's say you got a first step, you say, okay, I trust it, it can do what I want it to do. I figured it out on my own. I got that first step. The second one is try to find vendors who are integrating in your workflow exactly what you do as an executive, as a VP of sales, or as a rep. What are steps you do in your day-to-day job? And those are the specific moments where AI should help you. So that would be the concrete steps. Is first play around with it, ask those uncomfortable questions, get familiar, and second one, make sure that the tooling which you pick integrates in the workflow and also going to be adopted from the perspective of user experience, that people are going to use it. It's going to be adopted across your organization.
Yeah. I'd also add, just like start learning. Like we all of our employees have a ChatGPT like premium, costs like I think $20 a month. So everyone has it. Engineers, like the leadership, everyone has access to the tool. And at first it's like everyone's just, at least they have access. And then you see everyone starts playing around with it. Like we just had dinner with one of our engineers and he's like, well, actually, he's like, I can imagine like 40% of my work maybe one day being replaced by AI, and then 60% not. So like it's just, you start, it sounds like a terribly simple answer, but if you just start playing around with it, and then you start having conversations as a team, like what are we learning? What's the experience like? And you start actually realizing like this is actually pretty helpful. So the hardest step is just to get started and just try. I think from our experience,
I love it. I think a lot of the reticence, and maybe even if we're honest, slight bit of fear, perhaps, probably just is born of that lack of familiarity. So I love that advice, just to dive in and push the boundary and see what this thing can do. Well, you guys are on the front lines of creating a real world solution called Epicbrief. Why don't you tell the listener a little bit about that, and then maybe how they can jump in, because you guys are actively doing much of what we've been talking about today.
Yeah, sure. I think what we basically were at this stage, what we all, I hope it comes across. What our mission is to make human work in sales more meaningful and valuable with AI. Obviously, using AI. What you can do to, obviously, we already gave you some advices how you can get started. If you want to join us, join Epicbrief, join the user testing group, just visit our website and sign up to become a tester. We'll make sure to reach out and give you access to the tool, and see how you get along with it.
And what does Epicbrief do? What is its intended design parameters?
Right. So what we do is we care about salesperson's day. What do they do every day? So one of the problems we're solving is 70% of time salespeople are spending, they're non-selling activities. So, and most of that work is done post their calls, right? So salespeople jump on the call, they prep for the call, they jump on the call, they do a split-second decision, they have the discussion, and after they want to have their work done, ideally within 2-3 minutes after the call. Right now, that's not happening. That's a big problem there. So what we're doing is automating those post-call activities, like filling in the CRM, sending the follow-up email to the client with, just a simple summary. These are your needs. This is what we discussed. This is how we can help. These are the next steps. And then obviously people can create their own summaries, they can customize them, and then do the handoffs. For one of the interesting use cases we found is people doing handoffs. There's so much handoffs happening in B2B sales. It's individual selling. So people selling typically as a team, and access to information, access to what's happening in the meetings is currently very rigid. People watch recordings or listen to transcripts or or just jump on meetings. So just having a simple summary which is customized to that use case, to that handoff, is extremely valuable to salespeople.
Okay. Well, excellent. Well, your opportunity to maybe help give some feedback in their agile development of this solution, become a tester at epicbrief.com. Well, it's time to have some live Q&A. We've got some questions already lined up. We're going to dive into some of those. Feel free to add to those listening audience. And I'm going to grab from what we've got over here in the chat. There's a few. And one was a comment here. So Thomas Capone just makes a simple comment, guys. And I wonder if you would maybe riff on this. He just simply says sales team plus AI equals revenue. Does that summarize a little bit of what we've been saying here today?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I think one of the interesting things about this equation is I just want you guys to imagine. I know we have quite a bit of salespeople and sales leaders on the call. Is if you just have a sales team and you think that equals revenue, just think about AI buyer. Just think about the possibility that somebody, maybe people like us, develop an AI buyer. Right now, you're struggling with, people don't have pipeline. All of a sudden, the buyer can just go in the box and say, let's say a CFO goes in the box and says, these are my requirements and my problems, right? And then what AI does is just reaches out to all the vendors. And all of a sudden, what your salespeople have, if there's no AI in there, your salespeople have every day 50 new open windows. And AI is very, very friendly. They answer all your questions. And they're like, oh, what else do you want? Right. And then it filters out the vendors. You jump on the call with the AI buyer. You show them your demonstration. You show them the product. And then it reaches back out to economic buyer and says, there are 3 vendors. They're really good. Do you want to talk with them? And the economic buyer says, no, not yet. We are not done. I'm not ready to make a decision. And the AI buyer just keeps talking with you. And all 50 a day just comes, and your sales reps are just in the box talking with AI buyers.
That's amazing. Yeah. Well, that may lead into an answer to Joshua's question, which is, will AI have better answers to objections?
I think so. I mean, the one of the things which we discussed in the beginning is one of the things AI is not really good at is empathy and emotional intelligence. So part of handling objections is understanding not just the objection itself, but also the sentiment and seeing in what context it's all wrapped up. So it might be better from a logical and very straightforward sort of like, this is the analysis, this is the business case. I'm going to give you the answer right now, but it's not going to be able to maybe reframe the question. Maybe know that you don't answer with a question with an answer to the question. Maybe you have to paraphrase, maybe you have to clarify, maybe you have to understand what's behind that question, as understand the voice. So all those things which are related to rapport, related to emotional intelligence, trust, objections is very much connected to that. So until AI is developed to that level, I think humans are still much better at objections. They just need to be trained to handle those.
Well, that's ever the challenge, right? Better training. Tanya makes a point here in talking. They're having a side conversation between a couple of listeners here, but I love that you guys have engendered a lot of great conversation here in our feed. Tanya mentions that she's referring to this sort of interface between the sales professional and AI, and she's saying it's more of an issue of augmented intelligence. Maybe that's the real AI. I kind of like that. What do you guys think about that?
It's a good thing. If I'm honest, I'm struggling with the word augmented intelligence in itself.
Well, in other words, instead of like replace, like we think of it almost like a replacement, like one's in lieu of the other. But really, the human intelligence is still at the heart of this whole enterprise, and this powerful digital mind is augmenting the human mind, almost like a cybernetic thing. I don't know. I think that's what Tanyet's where she's coming from. You can clarify, Tanyet, in the chat if you'd like.
No, that makes sense. I think it's a very good wording. I've recently had a pleasure of being on a webinar of a top Finnish university called Aalto University. We were invited by a thought leader in generative AI in Finland, and he explains quite a bit about generative AI in general, what impact it can have, and what some of the thoughts he had. The submitted things to like article to HBR. So I would highly recommend to maybe go on our I think on our YouTube channel, Epicbrief YouTube channel, you have like a fraction of that, and there's maybe a link to the full interview. But I'd recommend checking this out. He makes a very good, solid case on just that AI is more of an augmented intelligence versus actual, general intelligence.
Right. I think that makes a lot of sense. Here's a question from Juan Jose Asensio. Now, he may be asking it tongue in cheek. Whether he is or not, I think there is a legitimate question here, which it's probably both, right, Juan? You can also clarify if you like. But he says, could AI help salespeople reduce the amount of times we say the word "like" as a filler word?
Yeah.
So it is funny, but talk to us about that. How could it help on things?
Anton and I have definitely said like 100 times during the whole thing. So probably Juan is being a bit cheeky here, but we appreciate him.
Yeah.
Or whatever we're saying. I honestly think like some of the best SDRs that I have met, one of the rules, it sounds a little bit weird, but they put a bit of a, sometimes they say, the best SDRs I've heard them say is that they put a little bit of a spelling mistake in their emails, and it gets better conversions because the person receiving it goes, okay, this is not perfect. Like somehow when people are using ChatGPT to write articles or to write content, it's too perfect, and we don't trust that too perfect. So tongue in cheek, but like the likes and the ums and the mistakes are actually maybe they're going to be human. That's what makes us humans, and that's actually maybe going to be quite valuable in the future. That like when you're on a call with someone and they're not making any mistakes and they're being perfect, you maybe start thinking, okay, is this a bot or is this an AI? Like, yeah, maybe turn it around to Juan Jose. Maybe the mistakes are not so bad.
Juan Jose, I'm sorry. The likes might have to stay, is what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So Tadek Sami has an interesting question here, and this is a real concern. We've spoken a little bit to this, but let's circle back again. Isn't sales about empathy and trust? Like, you're treating the person in front of you as a human. Listen, understand the problem, and then respond. Maybe riff on that just a little bit more, guys. What are your thoughts on that component and how that interacts with these issues?
Yeah, this is a big problem in sales. Like, to be honest, I was on a sales call a few days ago, and someone's selling something to me, and I was explaining, like, desperately trying to explain, like, hey, like, this is maybe not a right time for us. Like, really being honest about like our current situation, our needs, some of the problems. And it just like the salesperson kind of just glazed over everything that I said. And was like, all right, well, back to my agenda. And so like these are age-old problems that we as salespeople, irrespective of what happens with the AI, and I think it's true, the argument that it's going to be AI plus the human, but like when the human's in the mix, like we got to be human. Like we gotta listen. We gotta like act human. Otherwise, like the buyer does not want you on that call, does not want you there if you're just going to be worse than an AI in a way. So like we really have to like think about that as salespeople, like being human, being present, and listening. I think it's just there's a lot of anxiety and a lot of stress. I think from a sales process macro level, like you get that 10% and there's a lot of pressure on you from your organization. And so I think there's a lot of unnatural behaviors that are happening with salespeople, and they're just feeling a lot of anxiety, and they're trying to do their best, right? And that's why we do that as salespeople, because we have a quota, we're stressed, but it's really important to, it's easy to forget that you're selling to human, and but maybe that's what will happen if AI is more present and takes some of that pressure away. Then the human can be more human, I guess. So
I like it. Like maybe it'll free the human being to focus on what they do uniquely and let the technology cover all the other stuff. I like it. Well, guys, you've done a fantastic job of adding a tremendous amount of value to our audience. And I want to thank you for being excellent guests on our show here today.
Yeah, thank you for having us. This is, I think, the first podcast we've ever done, and so it's been a real pleasure, and we appreciate everyone who joined. And yeah, we're happy to discuss this with anybody and have conversations. And it's going to take a village to really, like when we think about our mission of making human work in sales more meaningful and valuable, it's like going to be a lot of different people that need to work together to make this happen. So we just want to start talking about something that people aren't really talking about, and hopefully, like as a sales community, we can figure this out. Because at least in my opinion, like salespeople are some of the smartest and most not only the smartest, but also like very competitive and hardworking people. I think together it's we just need to work together on this. So yeah, we just want to start a conversation right now.
I love it. Well, if this was your first podcast appearance, then I think you guys are off to a really great start. When you go from beta to full launch, hey, contact me. We'll have to have you back, and let's find out what some of the cutting edge insights are that you guys are experiencing right there on the front lines. But I want to thank you once again for being here. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you very much, Jonathan.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
And thank you to the audience. Without you, the show would not be possible. If you've been enjoying the content of the Evolve Sales Leader, of course, you can go back anytime you like and experience some of the other fantastic guests we've had by finding the podcast wherever you like to go and get your podcast. It's called the Evolve Sales Leader. Go check it out. We've got a lot of fantastic content, anything regarding business to business, sales and marketing and business development. And a great shout out to our sponsor. Overpass is the world's leading platform for hiring top-level talent very quickly to grow your enterprise. For hiring managers, it's free to open your account. And speaking of AI, there's a powerful AI built right into the platform that will send you candidates that meet your perfect criteria to grow your tech, SaaS, or B2B services company at a lightning speed. Check them out at overpass.com. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. We want to thank all of you for being here once again. I'm Jonathan Fisher. We'll see you next time, same station. Go make it a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you then.